Moving on with the news, Britain is reportedly considering launching a direct military air offensive against Somalia. Senior Foreign Office sources have said top officials are mulling over conducting air raids, allegedly to support African Union troops stationed in the country. British SAS and SBS units have also been stationed with the US-led Horn of Africa Task Force in Djibouti. This comes amid the backdrop of the UK's involvement in bombing Libya, which left hundreds of civilians dead. Kenya, Ethiopia and the African Union forces are currently involved in military assaults against Somali's al-Shabaab fighters. The US has been actively involved in attacks against the country, carrying out frequent deadly drone attacks. The offensive have killed and displaced a large number of Somali civilians. Rodney Shakespeare is a political analyst joining us now on the line from London to share more information with us about this. Mr. Shakespeare, first of all, how serious could this decision be, and what are you hearing about these reports of a direct military action by Britain in Somalia?
Well, it's very serious because it represents the consequences of negative attitude and negative policy. One thing you can be certain of is that just as there are now drones and US air attacks, if there's a British involvement, there are going to be many, many more civilians killed, and the hatreds of those who carry out the attacks will, of course, greatly increase. The parallels really are between a situation like in Afghanistan and in Pakistan. The problem is that the West does not have a philosophy and economics and politics which can capture the imaginations of young men. We are essentially concerned with intervention, creating more chaos, because we have the misguided belief that we represent something of appeal for these countries like Somalia, when the reality is that we don't. So I'm afraid we're looking at a negative situation at which David Cameron, who's become extremely cocky because he thinks that he's capable of solving the world's problems by force.
Well, David Cameron has said, Mr. Shakespeare, if I may, he's been saying that the interests of the British population and the British nation is at stake here, and that is why Britain may decide to do this. What are the interests, do you think, that he's talking about when it comes to the situation in Somalia that would necessitate any kind of military intervention in the situation there?
Well, they always use the word interest, but when you actually look at it, it usually gets down to an imperialist excuse for trying to exercise control over people who should be encouraged to have independence. Cameron and Jonathan Evans, his head of MI5, are claiming that Somalia will become a breeding ground for jihadist people who might put bombs in the UK. Well, that is a possibility, but the underlying thing is that the British policy is going to increase the forces leading to jihadists coming from Somalia. So the problem is that the UK does not really have a policy to address this situation, and all it can do is to make the situation worse.
Mr. Rodney Shakespeare, political analyst, joining us there on the line from London with his comments. Thank you very much, sir.